Hello and welcome to the Joyful Podcast. Today we are discussing Done with Church for Good. My name is Sam.
My name is Daniel.
My name is Florence.
And I'm Linda.
So, what comes to mind when we're thinking about Done with Church for Good? Let's just start there.
Finished. Don't want to go to church anymore. I'm tired of church.
Betrayal, and church is just no longer for me.
I'll say they're just they're done with it. They don't want to do anything no more. Like they have no connection with the people or the church itself.
Yeah.
Say something like that.
Guys, what do you think, instigates somebody getting to a point where they're done with church for good? What are the various things, the trials, the experiences that you feel leads a person to get to that point?
I think there are various things. I think one aspect is a personal experience. So let's say, for example, someone loses someone that they loved, but they believed that God would save them based upon their faith. That can be like, okay, God, I believed you. You didn't deliver this for me. And it's heartbreaking. So they can then be like, do you know what? I'm done with this believing in God, going to church thing. I think another thing is burnout and overwhelm with church. Like, church can be sometimes the most amazing place to be in.
Yeah.
But there's been churches that I've been to where I'm just like, church feels like work sometimes. It feels like work. It feels like I'm working.
Yeah.
And I already work full time Monday to Friday. And I'm going into, it feels like church. I want to serve God and I am serving God, but you just feel tired. You wake up in the morning, you go in, and I find sometimes with churches, and I know it's not intentional because they, you know, that whole thing where they like to say, we come to church and we do it for God and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes I have found that sometimes churches just have some of the worst systems in place.
Okay.
And so you go in, there's not proper systems and structures set up. And so you're constantly like just going. And you don't have that break. You just don't have a break.
Yeah.
And then you're working and you're not even really receiving. So it becomes a routine.
It becomes a routine.
So I feel like that's another thing that burnout, routine, just
yeah.
go in.
Yeah.
There has been a point in my life when I felt like I was done with church, but one of the things that has kind of like alluded to that was also trust being broken. And that's from people that you believed in, let's say leadership. So for me, it was almost like, I'm done with church. At the end of the day, I'm still following Jesus, but I'm just done with the system, with the, just church in general, the people in church. And I think for me, it was just more like, if I go somewhere else, how do I know that this leader is not going to end up doing this as well, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would say trust is really a big thing. The loss and, just breaking that level of trust, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I'll say like your environment or surroundings, especially as a young person, you grow up in a, let's say, bad area.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of kids doing bad stuff. As a young person, you're easily influenced. You want to join in with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't connect with the church or
With the
God.
church, yeah.
So you sort of like push church to the side and just focus on these bad things. And especially when the church is not connecting, if you don't have people in your
Yeah.
church that don't connect
Yeah.
with you, it's very easy to fall into the trap and just completely go to the world.
Yeah.
So I'll say environment and surroundings is very key as well.
Let me stay with you, Dan. Do you feel as though the church is still relevant to the younger generation? And if not, why?
I'll say it's not relevant at the moment, and one of the reasons why I could say is mainly because of social media and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like a lot of in today's society, a lot of these kids, the younger kids, they consume bad content, and the Christianity content it doesn't get pushed out as much.
Yeah.
Like you could post something right now, probably get 100 likes, but you could post something worldly, unworldly music, that's an easy 100,000 likes,
Yeah.
just like that. So it's very easy for these kids to come across like bad content and be influenced by it.
Flo, you spoke about trust being broken. How does the church restore trust?
I would say, I don't think there's one way to answer that question. I would definitely say some of the leaders need to be held accountable.
Okay.
And we need, like Linda said, we need like more structures in place, because they always say the church is like a hospital and, people are coming there for different things. And I feel like sometimes we find leaders that are not held accountable, being able to do whatever it is they please, and it's affecting some of us, it's affecting, young people. And I feel like the lack of accountability, has affected the level of trust as well, holding the leaders to account, to accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Interesting. Linda, you spoke about kind of like repetitiveness. I guess, would you say to some degree then religion has its way of rearing its head through the church, in the sense of having a systematic approach, but then at the same time, those systems don't necessarily work because if you're, let's say, for example, you're a worker within the church or you're somebody that has been coming to the church, it's like you're just ticking a register week after week. So then it just becomes quite repetitive. But essentially, religion has kind of got its grip on you through that system in a weird way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, repeating certain practices aren't necessarily bad.
Okay.
I don't think it's a bad thing to, like, read your Bible regularly and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's been times when I may not even be in the mood to read the Bible, but I will do it because I'm like, I know reading the word will edify me. So I'll keep on reading it, I'll keep on staying in it, and then I'll pray along with it and all that. So I don't necessarily think practicing the same thing is bad.
Yeah.
I think what sometimes happens in churches is that when things become routine, we negate the realities of life.
Okay.
So, for example, everyone needs to come to church on a Sunday or Wednesday or whatever, however it works for different churches. And then someone might have gone through something at home. They don't necessarily discuss it, but they come in and no one really stops to check, is this person feeling okay?
Yeah.
Or what's going on in people's lives and stuff like that. It's like, sometimes it's like we can be so heavily focused and embedded on just everything happening so well and right at church, which is great. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But there is the aspect where sometimes people's personal lives are dismissed. And it's, but it's church. And we're expected to be strong. Even if you're doing something, just show up because it's church.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then you now put away everything and put aside whatever you're going through. And again, it's not necessarily that these things are... I think there's a time and a place for everything. And I believe that it is important to be able to, power through things and stuff. But imagine if you're trying to power through things, but there's no outlet for it.
Yeah.
So where's all these things being stored?
Absolutely.
And then eventually it's just storing and storing and storing. And you're just going and going and going. And it's so typical, especially like if you come from like an African culture, when they say you have to be a strong person and all that kind of stuff. When everyone's just like, oh, you're so strong, you're so strong, you're so strong. When you lost your mum. And it's beautiful, you were strong and she was showing up.
Yeah.
But there is the aspect of the emotional side of it. And how many people say, yeah, you're so strong, but how are you on this side of things?
For sure.
There's one brother that I have, and we're still very, very close till this day. And I'm kind of known as a happy-go-lucky person, like always happy, happy. One day he called me. He was just like, I've studied you. And he was like, you've been in church for 3 years. There's no way you've been happy for more than 3 years straight and nothing else is going on in your life. And he made it a point to now get closer and closer and closer and get to understand me. And
Absolutely.
it's not like everything is perfect or whatever, but it's not all just, everything's okay. The personal life sometimes gets dismissed. And I feel like that's what happens sometimes with the practices is we just get into it, tied into it so much that we negate our reality.
Yeah. Do you think that we see that more in larger churches or in smaller churches or just church in general?
I think it happens even in the home. It's not even just the church.
Okay.
It happens everywhere. Imagine you're with your family, or even me and my son. We have our routine. Get ready, do this, do this. You just want things to be done.
Yeah.
And unless he says something that really catches me off guard,
Yeah.
I can easily dismiss it.
Yeah.
But that same thing happens in churches, whether big or small.
Yeah.
It happens in much larger scales in churches because there's just more people. I mean, in larger churches because there's more people.
Yeah.
But I think it can happen absolutely everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, myself and yourself, we used to go to a large church before.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, I felt that I was lost in that large church, right? So the church is supposed to be a place of refuge, supposed to be a place of safety and of comfort, right? But it's almost that and it alludes to your point where that it becomes very systematic. We know worship is going to be 10 minutes. We know praise is going to be this, and everybody turns up. And I think maybe I speak maybe also for certain people that have come to church and just felt lost within the confinements of church, that there is you know, that system that's in place, but like nobody really wants to get to know what's really happening with brother so and so, or what's really happening with sister so and so. So I think that also comes back to what Florence was saying about accountability. Another thing comes to my mind: does the church still serve this generation? Do you feel like the church serves this generation? So, you know, we know the doctrine of Jesus Christ. You know, we understand that, like, most times within Easter, that doctrine is always preached: the death, the burial, the resurrection, right? But does that have relevance in today's context, in what we're going through in our day-to-day lives? And like, if a person that comes to the church for the first time comes in and they hear the message, do you feel like it would transcend and that it would still have relevance in their lives?
I think for me, it depends how the message is conveyed, but I will say it is relatable.
Okay.
I was listening to when Daniel was speaking, and one of the things about young people is that they're looking for a family, they're looking for community. So when they're not coming to the church, they're hanging out and doing other things, they feel like they're part of a family, they feel like they're part of a community. The church itself has the right message, you know? The message of love, that is a message of family, a message of community, which is Jesus Christ, what he's done for us, you know, through his death, burial, and resurrection. So I feel like what the church can do better at is taking time we convey that message, but without diluting that message, but in a way that we are able to vocalize it to young people. And the reason why I'm kind of like stressing on young people, because there's a lot of young people that need to be in the church, you know. Where we're living in the United Kingdom, there's so many young people that would love to be in the church and stuff like that, but they feel like there's no relatability, you know. And I feel like if they feel like it's a family, it's a safe space, then of course the message is a great message, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's a great message. They see people like yourself, they're able to relate, you know, we dress like them, we can meet them on their level, talk with them, but we can talk in a stance of, this is my journey, this is where I've been through, you know, I'm not any better than you, I've just decided to follow this path, but you can get here too and still enjoy life.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The message is still the message.
Yeah.
The message is still the message. I think it just depends on the way it's delivered. What I am noticing now is, like, I don't know if I'm not sure if it's a good or, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but it's like, it almost feels like on Instagram, Christianity is becoming a trend. It does feel like it's becoming a trend, like, and part of it's like, oh, I'm liking it. People are really out there with their faith. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel when a person's recording themselves doing this. So I'm still, I guess, adjusting to it. And I see young people in churches. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And they're getting really excited about the different styles of music and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, there's certain things I'm thinking, oh, it's like cutting on across of the messages, right?
Okay.
I think young people are being catered to.
Okay.
But I think there is also a fine line. And I think there is this kind of line that's slowly being crossed, where, look, we're of the world, but we're not to be conformed by the world.
Yes, yeah.
And if, as much as I love the fact that people can be relatable, because is it Paul that says, like, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do and stuff. So relatability is so key and it's so important. So that's what I love what some churches are doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just, if I look at something and the question for me is, where's Christ in this?
Yes.
It then becomes like, well, then, is this about Christ? Or is it just entertainment? So yeah, the message is there.
Okay.
The way it's delivered is important because relatability is key.
Yes.
And like there's even a scripture in the Bible where it talks about unity, and it's like oil that flows from your head all the way to like your garment.
Yeah.
So like there's the beauty in that. But I also have seen things that are a bit like, it's questionable.
I really agree with that because, let's say for a small example, I went to a church, let's say 4 or 3 years ago. I don't think I'll mention the church. Yeah. But my friend had invited me, and it was very popular around the time. So I decided, let me just go see how it's like. Obviously, it's a very, very big church. A lot of people there. Yeah. So I went there, gone through the service, praise and worship, all that stuff. And sometimes I was just thinking throughout the service, I don't feel any connection. I don't feel anything. Like, it feels empty. I feel like I've gone inside the same left the same. So it's like,
Yeah.
I understand they're trying to relate to the youth, but at the same time, they're not. I don't think they're building any connections. They're just doing it on the worldly side, not the
spiritual side.
spiritual
Yeah.
side.
I think the message is relevant for sure. I definitely feel that the message is relevant, and I think the message within the church should be consistent. I use that word "should" because not every church does abide by the confinements of the doctrine of Jesus Christ. So relatability is definitely a key part. I always use myself as a first-time example. If I'm listening to any message, I always picture myself, I'm coming to this church for the first time, right? What is it that this person that is ministering, what are they going to say that is going to make me want to change my ways, or it's going to make me want to actually truly embrace God, to embrace this life of God that we have been given? You know, so I think relatability is very key. Like, let's say, for example, you know, like back in the day, my mum used to take me to like some churches and stuff like that, and I wouldn't connect it with what the men of God or the pastors would be saying, because the way they're kind of like conveying the message, to me, it just wasn't for me. It really wasn't for me, you know. And I kind of felt like every time my mum would take me to go to the church and stuff, I'm like, Mom, just go to the church yourself. You don't need me to come with you. Like, it's almost like you want me to be your bodyguard or something. Like, it just doesn't make sense, because this is not for me, you know. But as I started to grow up and stuff like that, you know, there are key people that I can definitely say in my life that they created a level of relatability. And I think relatability is not always just, oh, that you dress like me or you sound like me. It's sometimes that we've gone through similar struggles. We've gone through similar pains. We've gone through things that you're using as a form of ministry to serve people, you know. And I think more so than ever, especially in this generation, like it's lovely. Like when a pastor can dress trendy, and like you see even on Instagram, some of the largest or the biggest pastors or the most viral pastors, they dress up and they speak very eloquently. But I think the most important thing is that you're sharing something that is, it's like a struggle, or you're sharing something that is a pain. You're sharing something that you've gone through, that you've overcome, right? And that, I think, creates the bridge of relatability, especially when it comes to like, you know, just things that, because we're all human beings, we all go through various trials and tribulations. But to see that somebody has gone through something and then uses that as a form of ministry to serve his fellow people, to serve his brothers and sisters in Christ, I think that's what ministry is about, basically. But
I definitely agree with that, because when I'm thinking back to when I came, you know, to Christ and to the church, I definitely felt like, you know, like a level of relatability, knowing that, okay, you know, the man of God has gone through their own thing and they've come out on the other side, and it was through Jesus. So I was intrigued, like, okay, cool. So I'm going through this, or this is and Jesus can also help me, you know? So it was just so beautiful to see, because sometimes I feel like when we think of like leaders and stuff at church, we feel like, oh my gosh, they don't go through anything. They're perfect and stuff like that.
That's the misconception.
It is. So.
A lot of people that maybe do come to church, sometimes they do have this notion and this perception that whoever the leaders are, that they're just perfect. They're amazing.
It's
and
not
they're
their
go
fault,
through.
though.
Yeah.
You just give that impression.
Yeah, they do give that impression. Yeah.
I think it works both ways. Like, it's interesting because it's true. Sometimes people do go with the assumption, oh, that's the leader, you know,
That's the man of
that's
God.
the man of God,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's definitely men of God that also responded and kind of like, the man of God, they never share any of their personal struggles. If they do get anything, I just get up and go in because I love Jesus. And you're trying to do the same thing. You're like, I just want to get up and go because I love Jesus. And you go back to bed. So
it's true. It's true.
So there is that, and it's like there's even that expectation. Like when you're going through something, come to me. Like this what like when I was going, I remember there was at a time when I was going through something really personal, and I had spoken with one of the pastors in church, but it wasn't the main pastor, and the main pastor fell away, and this isn't like church from ages ago, but
Yeah.
it was just like, why do you feel away? That I had an issue. I've gone to a pastor underneath your church, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
To share that, but
Yeah.
you still feel sad because I didn't come to
to
you.
you.
So then, there's this kind of picture and facade that sometimes is being painted that people will respond to as well.
Yeah.
And pastors not like sometimes like they're sitting on a different, completely different section
Yeah.
from everybody else.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all those little things, all those pictures, it
Yeah.
does paint
That's
Yeah.
very
a
true.
picture.
That's very
And
true.
again, it's not necessary because maybe that's just a structure and organization of the church.
Yeah.
But we can't be remiss to the fact that it just paint a certain look.
Okay.
You're over there, we're over here. Even at workplace, in my workplace, it's so funny. All the directors are in glass offices. Everybody else is in the middle floor.
Yeah.
So it's just like it paints a picture.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
people
for
are
sure.
on a different level. These people, and don't get me wrong, they've obviously earned their stripes through the years.
Yeah.
And even with pastors, they do as well. But it's just
The youth seeing that type of stuff is
Yeah.
like they'll think these pastors are perfect throughout their whole life, and
lives,
it's like
yeah.
I can't come to Jesus Christ if I'm not perfect. and
Yeah,
stuff like that,
yeah.
innit? It kind of plays with the head if you know what I'm trying to say. It's
Yeah.
like they will come to the church, see the pastor,
Mm.
perfect. I'm not perfect. Why should I come
Yeah,
to Jesus
yeah,
Christ?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
those type of things, and I think that's how sometimes the youth are not interested
Yeah.
or relate to the church
For sure.
as much.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's stay there, Dan. You know, like especially with the younger generation, right? So a lot of things that are very pertinent to the younger generation, such as sex, drugs, alcohol, all of these various vices. Do we feel that the church addresses those things, or does it come more from like a confrontational kind of standpoint or a condemnation standpoint?
I think those situations are definitely kind of touchy.
Yeah.
Like, it's very sensitive.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes, especially as a youth, I'll hear the pastors speaking about all these type of stuff.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm young and I'm naive, so I'm thinking like, oh, the pastor's he's out to get me. He's just against
aiming
me.
his message at me. Okay.
So it's like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to come back here if this is what I'm gonna hear preach about something else.
Yeah.
So I think it comes in a condemnation type of point.
Yeah.
But the youth, they don't understand it's
Yeah.
for like the betterment of their life. It's
Yeah.
for like eternal life and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
So do you think then a lot of young people stay away from church because of that?
Yeah, because they want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to hear what
Mm.
they don't want to hear. Like, they don't want to hear bad things concerning their life.
Yeah,
They want to hear,
yeah.
oh, I want to get rich. I want to do this. I want
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
If you now tell them, oh yeah, there's a way to eternal life,
Yeah.
but you have to drop all of this,
Yeah.
leave all your friends,
Yeah.
leave all of that, they'll just be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's long.
I
It's
want
long,
to. It's
basically.
long. Yeah, I just want to stay with my friends. I don't want to do all this righteous stuff. Let me
Yeah.
just stay here.
Yeah.
But it's sacrifice.
Mm.
They don't know it's sacrifice. Like, not really about God. Like, if you want to go forward in life, there's certain things you have to drop
Yeah.
in order to like go further in life. And unfortunately, these friends, the sex, the drugs, all these stuff,
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
To circle back to something, Minister Linda, in terms of leadership, because you was alluding to this earlier on about like the systematic approach and stuff like that. How do we address burnout? Because I think burnout has caused a lot of leaders to leave the church. How does the church address burnout as a topic or as a subject?
there's a part of the person being burnt out. They need to vocalize it.
Okay.
If you're tired, say I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like-
yeah.
Why
Yeah.
like some people are still trying to force themselves to keep on going.
Yeah.
And even like pouring from an empty cup.
Whoa.
You're empty.
Whoa.
And it's okay to say I
I'm
am
empty.
empty.
Wow.
And I need filling.
Wow.
And-
Sorry to stop
Yeah.
you there. Do you think the church doesn't allow people to say, I'm empty?
I think the church doesn't intentionally do that.
Okay.
But I feel like church is one of the few places that I know in life
Yeah.
where you're expected to still pour even when you're on empty.
Okay.
And I think that it's not intentional again,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's just again because of the needs of the church.
Yeah.
And the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Yeah. I feel as though like when we don't know how to address certain things,
Yeah.
we just throw scriptures.
Exactly.
Right? To kind of smooth over or to cover over
Exactly.
when we don't have any knowledge in that area. I don't know. Is that right or wrong, Flo?
I think sometimes they tend to do as an encouragement for us, you know. And I love what Linda said about, just kind of like vocalizing, like, I'm kind of tired, like, because sometimes you're not able to serve to your best of your ability as
Yeah.
well, and then it kind of takes a toll in every area of your life. If you're a mother, you're a family person, it kind of starts going into other places like work and stuff like that. Or maybe work has been a lot, and then, like you were saying. So, I just feel like we need to be, I think sometimes church activities, I know speaking to friends, sometimes I feel like it's great and stuff, and we love, hosting, and it's a way to bring people in and stuff like that. But sometimes it can be very overwhelming as well. Yeah, when there's a lot of church activities.
Yeah. I think for me, there's a word that I've been holding on to this whole year, right? This is my year of redefinition, right? And redefinition meaning to be able to define or to redefine things. So I think even within church, especially church leadership, one of the things that we should try and normalize is sabbaticals, right? And as crazy as that sounds, because, if we look at like a lot of the older generation or the older leaders within the church confinements, a lot of times they'll say, I've been serving God for 30 years straight. I've been serving God for 40 years. And, it builds a perception that they've been going strong, not missing 1 week, right? Or not missing a month or whatever. So I feel as though sabbaticals are needed in order to combat, just like if you're in your workplace, your work environment, or whatever the case may be, they give you 25 to 30 days in the year, right? For you to kind of recoup and to kind of come back with momentum and whatnot, right? Because if you're working throughout the whole year, they know themselves, right? Like, a workplace is not stupid to give you 30 days or 25 days paid leave. They know, they understand the benefit of you having that time to kind of go away, recharge your batteries, and then to come again, and then you come back with a bit more energy.
And
right?
sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean like break away from the church. Sometimes it's just you're not coming into work today. Just come and actually just hear the word.
Yeah.
Being connected to the church is important, is because it doesn't matter whether a church has 1,000 people or 2 people.
Yeah.
Let's say I come into church one day, there's 1,000 people, I'm feeling burnt out, but it's like, who can I talk to? There's no one I'm really connected with. I don't speak with anyone in the church like that.
Yeah.
But let's say I go to a church with 5 people. I know there's one trusted brother or sister. I could pull to the side and tell them, I'm kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
How can I have some advice? How can you help me? Stuff like that.
What advice would you give to somebody that has lost hope in church?
Focus on God, and explore different churches. I did that before I found the church where I am now.
Yeah.
I literally went to different churches, and when I came here, I was just like, it was confirmed straight away, like, this is it.
I'll definitely say build a relationship with Jesus, and also have good people in your life as well. I would say the relationships you have are important as well. If you're done with church, just don't be done with Jesus. That's what I would say.
I love that. I love that.
It's not really an easy question for someone that's like in and out with church.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is, just take some time, as they said, build a relationship with Jesus. As humans, we don't enjoy things at the very start. It takes a while for us to enjoy it. So sometimes we just need to continue trying and trying, just for us to enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. To look for or find Jesus. The Bible says, looking unto Jesus, who is our author and finisher of our faith. So I believe that as long as you're able to look at Jesus, right, that you have that relationship essentially with God, and everything else then falls into place. And just to kind of branch into what Flo said, when you have good people around you, sometimes they can also invite you to come to their churches. Don't be afraid to explore. Yeah. Right. As long as you have Jesus, don't be afraid to explore. Yeah. So that's my advice.
I got Jesus.